Welcome to this Tab Media special report on WM Who? I'm your host, Jennifer Rash, and we will be discussing the who, what, when, where, why, and how of Women's Missionary Union. Joining me in the conversation is National President Connie Dixon. Connie, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me today.
All right, well, along with Connie being here in person, this special report is even more special because we are recording for the first time in front of a live studio audience. Thank you to our Birmingham area friends for being here today. All right, Women's Missionary Union has an extensive and rich history, definitely one worth exploring. We are going to put information and links to various resources in the show notes. However, for today's purpose, we are going to stay focused on current efforts and expectations for the future. All right, Connie, so let's get started. I'm thinking, help us understand briefly, broad brush, the basic structure of Women's Missionary Union at the various levels.
Okay, that's really easy.
Good.
Because our mandate is making disciples of Jesus who live on mission, and we do that through three areas. We do that through missions discipleship, that's our age-level organizations, through our compassion ministries, and also through leadership development.
Okay, she did brief, that's right. Okay, all right, so tell me though how that works out in real life, church life, association, state convention, national office at Resources, all of those.
Okay, we have been mandated, the biblical mandate of missions is the Great Commission, to go and make disciples. And so this, we provide resources to be able for every age level, from preschoolers through adulthood, of how to learn to be on mission and see the world and see beyond themselves into the world and see the needs and then give them ideas of how they can meet those needs.
Okay, all right. Now, you are nearing your first anniversary as national president.
Yes.
And you all need to read her story, hear more about her story, and links will be in the show notes. She is missions all the way, all right? She is all WMU, all her life. It is an incredible story. I do have to guess, however, becoming national president, you did learn a few new things.
Yes, a few, yes.
So even with that extensive history, what have you learned so far in your first year?
Well, I have been amazed by a lot of things. First off, that I was asked to serve in this position. I was totally amazed by that. But I've learned a lot. But the one thing I've learned is that people are good and people want to be on mission no matter the size of the town, whether it's from where I come from of 200 people to major cities. Everybody has that same passion. And so I've been pleasantly surprised at the people that I've met. I've loved getting to know everyone.
Okay, so one thing that I run across a lot, and even early on in reporting, was trying to understand what it meant to be president versus executive director versus all of the other titles. Can you help us understand leadership at the WMU national level, and then maybe how the officer positions work?
Yes, our Sandy Wisdom Martin is our executive director, and so she is more or less the boss.
And she is here with us today.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Sandy, for being here. But so she oversees the day-to-day work of WMU. Our executive board is made up of people who serve as their president in the individual states, and so they make up the executive board, and they're the deciding committees. They have the finance committee and the personnel committee and the different ones like that. So they make the decisions, and my job as president is working with them and overseeing the kind of the broad strokes of WMU.
Okay, that's very interesting. So every state convention has an executive director and a president, right? Okay, and then all of those, that group then makes up the board for the national organization. Do I have that?
Yes, correct? Makes up the general board. The executive board is just the elected presidents from there, and that way it's a grassroots organization. It's a grassroots run organization.
Okay, good. Okay, so that's how that kind of plays out. So the state convention level and the national level then obviously has paid positions and a staff that works, like you said, the day-to-day operations and the leadership of that aspect. the church level and associational level are primarily volunteer, or pretty much all volunteer roles.
Yes.
In that. So how does all of that play together then? With our polity of local church autonomy, I'm sure that a lot of churches do WMU differently. Mm-hmm. And then national WMU has all the resources and the probably preferred guidelines of what it would look like. So how do you relate and help encourage, but also stay in the lane of what we do there? And then how did the two in between function?
Okay, the resources of WMU, I like to look at them as like a toolbox.
Okay.
And this is suggestions of what you can do and how you can do and the resources that we provide for you. But no WMU group is the same.
Right.
You know, and we don't want them to be cookie cutter organizations. We want them to fit their culture and what their community and their association and their state needs. Okay. And so we basically just resource them and try and help with leadership training and different aspects like that. But we do not say this is what a WMU group looks like and this is how it needs to operate, whether it's Women on Mission or CAs or Mission Friends. We don't try and tell you how to do it. We just give you suggestions of how you can do it, and then you can take whatever element you want to make it yours.
Do you ever find that having that much freedom is actually potentially difficult for a local church?
Yes, it is, and so in our curriculum, we have lesson plans that's very detailed out. That if you want to, this is how it can happen. But the danger there is some people think, well, I'm not doing it the right way. I'm not doing it exactly the way they told me to do it. Well, we're not telling you to do it. That's just a suggestion, a guideline of how you can do it.
Okay. And then the local. The church level and the association level, they will have leadership positions as well to help move it along and decide direction, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And so talk about funding for a minute. How is Women's Missionary Union funded?
Okay, national WMU is funded primarily or with the sale of our materials, with our resources, and through the endowments with the National WMU Foundation, and that's how we get our funding. We do not receive CP dollars at all.
So no cooperative program funding goes to WMU?
No.
So with all of the state conventions, do they receive an allocation from the cooperative program, and are they all set up in similar fashion?
Well, there is no typical WMU as far as a state convention goes. Many years ago when I came on as the executive director for New Mexico, I was funded with CP dollars because I was a department of the Baptist Convention of New Mexico. Some of the states are set up that way, so yes, they would receive CP dollars. But some of the state conventions are volunteer positions, and then some that do have full-time positions have other duties as assigned, which might be church and community missions. It might be different areas that they're also responsible for other than WMU, and so they would receive CP dollars depending upon that. And then there's some that are designed to be exactly like National WMU, and they're an auxiliary to their state convention, and so they would not receive CP dollars.
Okay. So how does a state convention decide? Is there a formula? Is it truly just every state makes that
If
call?
there's a formula, I would love to see it. I would love to address that, but no, there's really not. Many of the executive directors, the overseers of the entire state conventions, understand the value of WMU, and they understand the teaching of the giving sacrificially, and so they really love WMU and want it to be a major part of the conventions. And then some with cutbacks and with financing and things, some of them have cut back on WMU.
So with the variety of setups with the state convention WMUs, and then you have national WMU, tell me about the relationship directly between those two entities.
Okay, we have a wonderful relationship as far as I know.
Right,
We have a
right.
wonderful relationship. All of the executive directors have such respect for Sandy and for the national staff that they truly look to them as a resource and as a friend. So we have a really good working relationship. And we understand at National WMU that it's not going to look exactly in each state the way not everything's going to look like Alabama, or not everything's going to look like New Mexico. They're going to be individual. But there's a very good working relationship there.
So is National WMU then, for lack of a better term, a basic resourcing element to the work of WMU across the board?
Yes.
Is that
yes.
fair?
That's a very good definition. And to some of the smaller state conventions, it's vital because we cannot afford to bring in people to do leadership training. And so National WMU provides through our Women's Leadership Center, we can go on and take online learning, and the women can do it in our states. And so we really look to them as a helper, a very good helper.
Well, with that, because of the leadership training, you also have the World Crafts, you have Pure Water, Pure Love, you have so many different aspects, the curriculum we talked about. How do you help the state conventions who maybe are not participating as much? How do you help them see the importance of the connection and pulling from the resources?
Well, I think that that's something that we're constantly having to work at, because we have a tendency to want to give them the whole load and tell them everything that we do. But I think just listening and partnering with them and listening and getting to know them and finding out what they're passionate about and then tapping into that. A great example of that is our recent Heart Fund grants that we've been giving out. The Heart Fund grant was established after 9/11, and it's to help rebuild tomorrow. And so it is a great way. And once the state conventions and individual churches hear that, oh, WMU does that, that's wonderful, and they want to be a part of that. And I had lunch today and was talking to a man about Pure Water, Pure Love, and how excited people in New Mexico are about Pure Water, Pure Love, because many years ago they drilled a water well on the Navajo reservation for a dear lady and for a Baptist church that sits on the Navajo reservation. And so people in New Mexico get excited about that when they hear about the different ministries. So you find what it is that they're passionate about, and then just that's a good starting point.
Well, that makes sense, because you're right, with all that National Women's Missionary Union provides, it could be overwhelming, I think, with so many different pieces and parts, and that's a great job to the staff, but trying to figure that out. So zeroing in to say, hey, we want to find out what you're passionate about and help you and plug in with you. So how do you do that?
That is a very good question. It's all done, I think, through relationships and just building relationships with people and finding out, what their needs are. And I made reference a while ago to a toolbox. You show them a little bit about what you have, but when there is so much, you find what resource they need, and then you resource that need.
And that could work, I'm assuming, on all the levels then, right?
Yes.
The church level, the associational level,
Yes.
that kind of thing. Okay, and you mentioned the Heart Fund. That is through WMU Foundation as well, and people can contribute to that as well as receive from it, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so WMU Foundation is a partner ministry with WMU, and you can find out more in our show notes on WMU Foundation as well, and the Heart Fund and all of the different funds available. Okay, so let's go back to the church level. So there's a church out there, and they are very involved in WMU life. They have been for years and years and years. What are you seeing? What does it look like? Describe for us what is the typical church WMU? You said there isn't one, right?
Yes.
So my question's not fair, but if you could kind of lump them into 2 or 3 categories.
Okay.
What would they look like?
Well, we have the traditional Women on Mission group.
Okay.
And that is sometimes the only part of WMU that anyone knows about.
Okay.
Is the ladies group that meets on Tuesday mornings at 10 o'clock.
Right, right.
And that's kind of what they know about. And so we do have those, and we celebrate those because a lot of our heritage are in those groups. We also have groups that do not meet any criteria at all. They might be a knitting group or a quilting group that makes lap quilts for nursing homes around, or just meets the needs of by feeding in homeless shelters or different things throughout the week. And
But
so
they would call themselves WMU?
But they call
Okay,
themselves
okay.
WMU, and so it's so the Women on Mission groups can look very, very different. So it's very hard to show you exactly what a typical one was. And you were making reference a while ago to how wonderful the staff does in getting the message out there. But you've got to understand it's not just a message telling people who've never heard about WMU. It's re-educating the ones that the only thing they know of WMU is that group of women on mission, and they don't see how they fit into that. And so we've got to re-educate them that there's a place for everyone in WMU, because if you see a need in your community through Compassion Ministries, you can help to alleviate that need through them.
Okay, that's very interesting. So you do have two tracks going. You've got those who've never heard or never really engaged or didn't really understand, and those who have always been a part but don't see the relevance today, maybe, or expanded purposes. So how are you doing both of those? how are you re-educating, and then how are you educating?
It's constant, because I want everybody to be as passionate about WMU as I am and love it as much as I do, because I can see the benefit of it. I see what it did for my life and how it made my daughters to be independent young women. And so I want everybody to be as passionate and excited as I am, but it's a slow process. But thanks to you, things like this and podcast, and Sandy Wisdom Martin does a On the Journey podcast, and through those podcasts we get to meet different elements and areas of WMU through our websites. There's lots of different ways that we get to teach and show people about today's WMU, because I said that, we're not your grandmother's WMU, but we are. That 134-year-old heritage doesn't go away. We still have the same objectives, that we want people to grow in their faith and learn about missions and pray for missions and give sacrificially and to do missions. But we also want them to do it their way. And we want to be sure that we equip today's generation for missions, because if we fail to teach this generation the importance of missions, we're one generation away from having no more missionaries.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. Well, with the age of the organization, you're not alone in the trying to figure out how you communicate with a generation that's well removed from the founding, right? So that a lot of people are in that same boat trying to figure that out. Hard question. Why, with all the other options out there today that have a fresh face and maybe a more trendy feel to them, why should we care about WMU?
Okay, that's a great question, and it's a question I think that we wrestle with often. We have a heritage, and a very rich heritage, but we also have big dreams. But we do have such a rich heritage, and we want to share that heritage, but it's tried and true. And our missions education and missions discipleship is so important to the growth and health of a church. We've almost made missions discipleship and missions in our church as an elective, where it's not. It should be that's how you have a healthy church.
Expand on that a little bit. Why is missions so important?
That's how we reach the world. Okay, we're commanded to go and make disciples of all generations, and so we're commanded to do that. And WMU is a tool to help you to be able to do that. And so it's not just a trend. there's lots of trends come and go, and I'm not gonna bash any of them because they're all good. But missions is not a trend; it's a commandment. The Great Commission is the Great Commission, not just a good suggestion. We're supposed to do it, and WMU is a great tool to help us to do that.
Talk to us a little bit about your partnership with the mission boards, the International Mission Board and the North American Mission Board.
Okay, we have great partnerships with both the North American Mission Board and the International Mission Board, and they, I think it's due to Sandy and her great friendships and her personality, but we have great working relationships right now with both of the boards, and we so appreciate what they do, but they also appreciate what we do, and I think that is wonderful.
And if you could be in front of all the churches in Southern Baptist Convention right now and be talking to them personally, what would be a message you'd want them to understand about how important it is for them to be connected to what's happening through WMU, and then by extension, all that's happening through missions in Southern Baptist life?
I think the message that I would have for them is we're not wanting to take over. We're not wanting to make you change anything you're doing, but we can assist you through whatever area and endeavor that you have. I can't imagine why anyone wouldn't want to teach people to be better prayer warriors and to prayer walk, and teach people to give, and to not only give of their resources, but to give of their time. And so we want to partner in any way that we possibly can.
Well, one thing you said too made me realize we've been talking about Women's Missionary Union and all of the WMU groups. Tell us how men can be part of this effort. Or can they?
Yes, they can. Yes, they can from birth. In our organizations, our missions discipleship organizations are co-ed, whether it's Mission Friends or Children in Action, and so, or Youth on Mission. And then we have, for the learning aspect of it, we have Adults on Mission, and so the men can be involved in that. But also we have Christian Men's Job Corps, which is one of our compassion ministries that helps men to gain the job skills and the life skills necessary to make it in the world. And so men can be involved in that as mentors or as teachers or as site coordinators. So anything the women can do, the men can do. Yeah, but we have a place for everyone in WMU.
Fun. I love that. All right, so how can the local church who already has a WMU presence and believes in WMU, how can they best help the full picture of what happens through national WMU, and then how they can connect all of us together?
I think the best thing that they can do is to tell their story. When you hear the stories of children that have come to know Christ at Children's Missions Camp, if you see the children and the adults that their lives have been changed through compassion ministries, and they were taken and rescued out of human trafficking to work in one of the Worldcraft sites. When you hear those stories, people get excited about the story and they want to be involved in the story and what happens next in the story. And they see that truly changes are made in people's lives when they come to a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ.
Connie, thank you. Thank you for sharing and being willing to just give of your time for this role. It's a 5-year term.
Yes.
And you are almost 1 year into it. So.
Yes. Well, thank you for having us, and thank you for telling our story.
All right, we are going to move into a Q&A with a live studio audience. Connie, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Yes,
Where is our mic?
Connie, this is Sandy from National WMU, and I heard you say that WMU is a grassroots organization. I want those that are listening today to understand how grassroots, because you are the national leader, the national president of Women's Missionary Union. Tell them about the church you go in. Tell them about the church that you attend, how long you've attended, and about your community.
Okay, I am from Elida, New Mexico, a town of about 200 people, and I am a member at First Baptist Church Elida, and that's the only church I have ever been a member of. I was baptized into that church. I was married in that church. Both of my daughters were baptized in that church. And so my roots go really deep into that church. And when I talk about the grassroots, that we're a grassroots organization, it's not a top-down of here's how you have to do it. The most important person in WMU is the woman sitting in the pew or the man sitting in the pew or the preschooler going to Mission Friends. That is the most important person in WMU.
I just think it's amazing that a woman from a church of 50 could be president of National WMU, and we believe in the woman in the pew.
But thank you, Sandy, and it's kind of mind-blowing to me that I am the national president. But another fact that a lot of people don't know is National WMU has 2 elected officers. There is an elected recording secretary and a president. And we both grew up at First Baptist Church, Elida. Shirley McDonald, her dad was my pastor, and her dad married my husband and I. And so the only 2 elected officials for National WMU grew up at First Baptist Church, Elida.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
That is impressive. I love that.
Both of y'all have good questions.
Hi, this is Pam Thompson. Connie, tell us a little bit more about how the vision of National WMU is communicated down through the state organizations.
Okay, Pam, thank you for asking that. And we have a January board meeting, and then we have a meeting that's in conjunction with the Southern Baptist Convention. And when we have those meetings, our presidents and executive directors from all of the states come together, and that's when we have training and we have our business sessions, but that's when we get to share what that vision is and what we would like to see. And it's the most beautiful experience because our presidents serve for 5 years and then rotate off, so there's always new faces. And it's so wonderful to see the sisterhood and the networking that's done at those meetings.
This is Eddie Gibson. I'm glad to be here. I am a direct recipient of WMU work, mission work in Africa. I'm from Liberia originally. And so in Liberia, there's WMU, Nigeria, and other African countries. Can you talk about the diversity of the WMU work, locally or nationally, maybe stepping up to the international level for some who really don't know?
Okay, Eddie, thank you for asking that. In fact, our board is probably the most diverse board in all of SBC Life. We have a third of our board, our executive board, are women of color. We have 7 executive directors who are women of color. We have young mothers. We have 3 of our presidents are in their 30s. And so there's a huge diversity amongst our board. We have also got Joy Bolton, who has served as Kentucky WMU Executive Director and has now retired, who is working with the international WMUs around the world. We now have WMU work or recognized work in 49 countries, along with every state in the United States. So Joy has Zoom calls where we get to be with the women that are the WMUs of Nigeria and Liberia and Canada and Mexico and all the different countries. So it's a very diverse organization, and we love that, and we're hoping to have more and more of that.
All right, so one final question from me, and I think we have some more from the audience, but I wanted to jump back to the funding concept, because we established that National Women's Missionary Union does not receive funding from the cooperative program,
True.
but receives it from the sale of various resources, which includes curriculum, magazines, online learning. There's lots of different things there, right? And then I'm sure there's some other ways, though. Can you just kind of elaborate on how the funding comes in, and so that the local WMU chapters, groups, programs, Women on Mission, whatever it might be, can know in their minds how it all plays out?
Okay, the primary source of our income is from our resources, is from the Missions Mosaic magazines, and so that is the primary way that we get our funding. We also get grants from the WMU Foundation, and so that's another great way that we get. But that we do not get CP dollars, any allocations from CP at all.
How about donations?
Yes, we accept
We'll take-
donations. Yes, yeah. You want to write a check?
I will work on that. Okay. Ooh, she got me on that one. And I do subscribe to Missions Mosaic, by the way.
Thank you.
So, how about
Thank you.
All right. From the audience.
I'm John King with the Birmingham Metro Baptist Association. We have 180 churches that make up the association. My question is, how can the association and the churches of the association support the work of WMU?
Well, thank you, John, for that question. And I'm amazed that you have that many churches in this association. That is fantastic. I think that just being willing to have missions fairs and giving an opportunity for WMU to be heard from the associational office is wonderful, and having the associational WMU directors that I know that you have, and so that is a great way to just be able to resource them, and then they can in turn resource the individual churches. And if there's any needs ever in the association, that especially smaller associations that might not have a director of missions or might not have an associational WMU director, to let them know that we at National WMU would love to work with them and resource them and help them in any way that we can. But thank you to all the associations for what you do for WMU in your association and in your local church.
Thank you.
All right. Other questions?
Maggie Evans. I grew up Southern Baptist. My dad's a pastor, and so remember GAs so clearly. And I'm just curious, now I'm an adult, and I was just wondering how the WMU curriculum is different from other curriculum that is out there. So why would someone want to do, WMU curriculum over another organization's?
Well, I think our curriculum is the best, but I may be a little partial, but I think it's very good curriculum, and it is focused in on missions. It tells the missionary stories from the missionaries themselves. It tells the Bible stories of how to be on mission and how to live on mission, and so it is hands down the best curriculum for actually teaching missions. And we are just launched this last summer, Mission Journey Kids, and it is wonderful curriculum for all ages. If you have a group that is both boys and girls, but it also works so well for your RA groups, if you all have all boys, or your GA groups, if you have all girls. It's a very multi-using, very user-friendly curriculum.
Tell us a little bit more about RAs and GAs.
RAs and GAs, I think, are the backbone of our organization, because so many of us that are in leadership today grew up as GAs or grew up as RAs. I am a grown-up GA married to an RA, and so
it's another story.
It's who we are, and so if you are passionate about something, you need to remember being that GA and go back and start teaching. Girls Auxiliary, the GAs, is an organization for little girls in 1st through 6th grades, where RAs is the boys, that Royal Ambassadors, and it's for also grades 1 through 6.
So Royal Ambassadors has a little bit of an interesting journey through its lifetime. Can you tell us just a quick note on that?
Yes, I will. And a lot of people don't know this, but WMU actually started RAs, and then it was given to the Brotherhood in the 50s.
Okay.
And then after the Brotherhood, it went to the North American Mission Board. And so it hasn't been till the last several years that it come back home to be with WMU. And we were thrilled to be able to have the RA curriculum again.
Fantastic. Did you see a drop or decline in RAs from the as it moved through the different locations? And I guess the second question would be, how are you making sure that word's back out there that that it is available, alive and well.
Yes, I think there has been a decline in the number of RA groups over the years, but there is such excitement about it coming home to WMU, and the people, like I say, my husband, who is an RA, is excited that RAs are back, and you can start to see the numbers grow again throughout the nation.
All right, great.
I'm Shirley Crowder, and I'm an MK, born in Nigeria, West Africa, Southern Baptist Missionaries. And I wonder how WMU, through their curriculum and their programs, keep us as Southern Baptists informed about the missionaries whom we support through Lottie Moon, Annie Armstrong, Evie White, all the different things that we do and the connections that we have with the IMB and NAMB.
Okay, well, I think through our resources, we do a wonderful job of making the missionary come to life because they get to hear their stories. They get to hear about what they do and what they eat, and they actually get to meet the missionaries. And so that's a very important part, especially for the children, but also in the churches. If they hear the story and see the videos of the missionaries, they become part of them. And then on a daily basis through our prayer calendar in the Missions Mosaic, we focus on missionaries throughout the month, and you read about their stories, but every day is a list of the missionaries that are serving North American Mission Board missionaries, International Board missionaries, even the Last Frontier missionaries, the chaplains, the volunteers are listed, and the state convention missionaries. And so that keeps them on the forefront and keeps them to where people remember and pray for them.
All right. Well, thank you to our audience.
Yes.
And to Connie, thank you. Thank you again.
Thank
for
you so
joining
much
us.
for doing this, Jennifer. This was wonderful.